everyone, Bell is back, and sorry, I know my video quality is horrible today, but hopefully none of that matters. Today we're going to talk about a great show I just watched on Netflix called Arcane League of Legends. Yes, I know I'm late to the party on this. This was released some months ago, and I saw everybody was watching it, and I knew I had to start it myself. I'll tell you this, I watch more movies than shows, and I think it's because I have a very low attention span, so it's very hard to get me to invest in a new show. It was a little hard on me, once again, to get invested into this show, but I pressed on and I'm really glad I did. So for those who don't know, Arcane is based on the online multiplayer game League of Legends, and I'd heard of the game before. I had friends that had played it, but I had never played it myself. But I had some familiarity with it when I was hearing the show was coming out. And I was hearing a lot talk about the character Jinx on the show, so I had to watch it myself. So the Arcane basically is a 9-episode show, and it's basically 3 acts, and it mainly focuses on the characters of Vi and Jinx, the sisters, and basically their past and their conflict and how their relationship and their relationship with the underground city of Zaun and the high, rich overland city of Piltover has led to who they are today. And it's kind of a show that is a descent into madness, as you can see, with Jinx. And I found it really fascinating to watch because they had put a lot of detail into the various tics that she'd have as a person who's losing her mind and the reasons for that. And what I really like about this show is it doesn't hold back at all in terms of the turmoil that happens. It's animated, but it's not a show for kids in the least. And you can see that right off the bat, not just because maybe there's a middle finger or a bad word here or there, but because of how brutal it can be. And there's going to be spoilers from here on out. So spoilers, skip to the end of the video if you just want my overall review. So in the beginning of the show, we've got sisters Vi and Powder before she became Jinx. And basically, Powder is a character who's young and she's insecure and she's really, really hard on herself in this world, this very harsh world that she lives in, as she follows her sister in her kind of crusade against the overworlders of Piltover, who she blames for all her problems because the enforcers from there killed their parents. But Powder's very put upon, she's very criticized, she's referred to as a Jinx because she's always making things go wrong, it seems. But she depends on Vi for her security in more ways than one, in physical security against enforcers in the terrible city of Zaun, and about her mental security. So you watch her lose her mind as Vi starts to lose confidence in her, and ultimately to see her try her own weapon to save her sister and her friends and ultimately kill them, and just watch the mental breakdown. It's really heart-wrenching to watch, but it makes total sense in her descent, and it makes it very compelling that now Vi, who is really who on an opposite level becomes really the hero of the show, that you see her kind of climb into heroism, but you also see how Vi ultimately created the biggest monster in the show in Jinx. But is she really a monster, and is Vi really the hero of the show? And that's kind of what it plays with, a lot like Cobra Kai, is that no one is 100% the hero and no one is 100% the villain. You could look at Jinx as a sympathetic villain or an anti-hero because of her history and how she was treated and mistreated, and how she thinks that she is in the right in her crusade against Piltover because of how she was taught by Vi and how she was taught by Silco, who becomes her surrogate father, and because of how in her eyes they are the ultimate enemies, and how in her eyes her sister betrays her by somewhat joining Piltover in the end. And even Silco, who is kind of the closest you get to an actual villain in the show, he's absolutely terrible, but you see humanity in him in his father-daughter relationship with Jinx, and you see he also has a similar backstory to her, in someone who was betrayed by his brother figure, and someone who's doing everything he can to take down Piltover, who he sees as his ultimate enemy. So that's what I mean is no one is ultimately the heroine or the villain of the show, even though I'm pretty sure whoever watches this is going to take sides because some of the actions of certain characters like Silco or even Jinx is just inexcusable. Now I mentioned how Silco and Jinx have parallels. In this show, what I really love about it in its animation loves to have metaphorical parallels between characters, visual parallels. It does it a lot like Stepan Sedgwick's Harleen, the graphic novel I've reviewed on this channel before. You see visual parallels when Vi is betraying Powder when she's berating her and abandoning her to when Vander, Silco's brother figure, is abandoning and betraying him. You see, there's a lot of times when there'll be something very important and pivotal for the characters on an emotional level happening. They'll have a song to tie it together, and they'll have visuals that show what's happening in the characters' lives, like when Mel and Jace get together as a couple, and when Victor realizes that he's dying. Both happens at the same time visually, and then there's a swelling music to let the audience know that this is a very pivotal moment for the characters. Or when one of my favorite moments in the show is when Jinx decides that she's going to let Vi know where she is, and she uses basically a smoke grenade or something like that she lights up in the air. It's you know it's an emotional moment for her, and you know everything she's feeling without it being said, because not only the expression of the face but the visuals showing Milo, one of the characters she killed indirectly, wailing behind her in a visual to just display what's going on in her head, and also the music swells, and you just really get these moments of impact, especially at the very end. And I won't spoil the ending, but it's very impactful, and this is just an excellent show where everything has meaning. Everything the characters do has a purpose to further the story. Every visual has meaning, and you can watch it over. I've only watched it through once now, but you can watch it over and over again and get something new out of it. And I want to just commend this show that it actually has strong female characters, and it understands that strong female characters are strongly written female characters, because you've got Vi and you've got Jinx and you've got Caitlyn and so many characters here who are physically powerful and able to do all this stuff, but it doesn't become a problem of its like forced empowerment or anything. It's not like that at all, and I wouldn't say that they are at all empowering characters. They're not characters about female empowerment. Jinx is very much about abandonment and mental illness. Vi, I would say, is about the flaws in a sister, or even someone who's trying to be the good person here, because she is the one who ultimately created the biggest monster in the show indirectly. So it's like flawed female characters that you can watch, and they're about their flaws. They're not about being empowered, and that's what I like to see, and that's what I think makes them so strongly written, because of the conflicts within them and watching them play out. And it's not just about using female characters to just be cardboard cutouts or PSAs that women should be strong. No, they're real female characters. So I would 100% recommend watching this show. I would be a little bit wary about letting kids see it because of how intense it gets and some of the content in the episode, but 100% recommend Arcane on Netflix, one of the great shows to watch today. I will have another video out later about the Harley Jinx comparison, which I really have to comment on. And be sure to like and subscribe to see that, and I'll see you guys next time.